So what I want to highlight here real quick is that Copilot is also living inside of our Teams meeting right now. Okay. As we're going through and talking about all these different things. So if you notice, I have this little Copilot icon right here on my Teams window. If I go ahead, give it a click, here's what's cool. I can ask Copilot to give me a summary of what has happened so far inside of today's session. So if I go ahead and say, please, and I did just start the recording, so it may tell me that, hey, I need some more information. Meeting so far. What Copilot's going to do is it's going to take a look at the transcript from the recording, and then it's going to provide basically a quick summary. It's going to highlight the key points. Now, granted, again, because I just started it, let's see. Here we go. You started the meeting by showing a demo of Copilot, explain that it's also integrated in Teams, and I clicked on the Copilot icon in my Teams window and asked it to summarize the meeting so far. Talk about third person commentating here, right? And then it says, hey, that's all I've got for now. Please let me know if you have any other questions or requests. Now, a couple other of cool little things inside of here that we can see is that now based off of the first thing that I've prompted Copilot with just inside of our Teams meeting, it's now providing me some suggestions. Okay, so it's got recap the meeting so far. It's got list action items. Now, also, if you notice right down here, there's this little kind of like 2 stars and it says more prompts. Here, you're going to be able to find more prompt suggestions. Okay, so this is great for, if it's your first time using Copilot, right? Whenever you do get it integrated inside your organization, I always think going through and playing around with all the different prompt suggestions is great. Okay, like here's a good one that I personally love: generate meeting notes. I think that's a good one. I'm sure we've all been there in a meeting at some point in our professional lives, and we've been asked to be the designated note taker. And that can be kind of tedious, right? Because you're trying to listen and you're trying to capture all the information. If you have Copilot, no longer do you have to spend time doing that type of busy work. Copilot can provide that information for you. Another good use case, I'd say great use case and idea actually, is I'm sure more than a handful of us at one time or another, we've been double booked in meetings, right? Or, we've got meetings back to back even. I know there's some of us who have been in multiple meetings at the same time, and we're trying to keep up with everything that's going on between each of the meetings, write down any action items, you name it. Well, what's great is if you're in one of those tricky situations where you have to jump back and forth, you're very easily able to come back in to whatever meeting it is you want to get caught up on and ask for a recap, maybe list any action items, so on and so forth. And then you can grab that information, do with it what you need to. Maybe you were given an action item to draft a report, right, based on the new project. Okay. Well, then what you could do is you could come straight from this Teams meeting, and I'm going to move this on over and jump right on into one of 2 different things here. I'm trying to string these together as best as I can just to kind of give us some sort of flow. Okay. So let's say that just fictional here. Okay, you were asked inside of one of your double booked meetings to work with Andres on creating a PowerPoint. Okay, for an upcoming project. And then so what you could do is, if you didn't already have all this information like Andres provided me here, what you could do is, if you notice inside of Teams, all the way off to the far left-hand side, I also have the Copilot icon. So inside of here, and something I also want to point out here, just real briefly, while it's top of mind, is and we'll see it in action, I think, in PowerPoint too, as we go to spin something up there. But there's not as much chaining, as I like to call it, as you would maybe think. Okay, meaning you can't just go to, for example, Copilot in Teams, give it a prompt and tell it to, hey, spin me up this Excel file, spin me up this PowerPoint, and spin me up this Word document. Okay. It's not going to be able to do all those things simultaneously. And also, in that same hat, you're probably not going to get the results that you're actually looking for, because the more refined you are, the more explicit, the more that you explain things to Copilot, like it's 6 years old. Not to say that Copilot is dumb, okay, because it's not. But the more direct, the more clear, the more concise you are, the better you can expect the results to be that you're looking to grab out of it. Okay. But let's just say maybe you were told to create let's create something based off of time management. We'll just use a generalized example here to keep it simple. Okay. Let's say I don't know where to start, right? I know maybe my tips and tricks that I typically use, but let's go ahead and let's start from scratch here. Let's work with Copilot and say, I need to create a presentation on time management. Now, if I go ahead and I just tell Copilot that I need to create a presentation on time management with no further explicit prompts, what Copilot is then going to do is it's going to search within my organization for documentation related to time management. If it cannot pull anything, it's going to tell me that it couldn't find anything, right? So this is where you need to make sure that you have the web plugin enabled. There's nothing special that you have to do. Okay. It's really simple. There's this little icon here, right here, where it says plugins. If you click on that, there's this tiny little slider here. Okay. And what this tiny little slider will do is it will allow Copilot then to roam the web. Now it can do a combination of roaming inside of your organization and pulling data from the web. It can do both. Okay. But typically what I find Copilot do best is when you tell it to do one or the other and not both. Okay. Sometimes when you say both, you're going to get a little bit more of a mixed result than you may be expecting. Now, there's some additional plugins as well. Okay, we're not going to get in those today, but just wanted to point this out. This took me like 30 minutes to figure out, hey, why isn't it searching the web? Right? That was one of my first things when I got it integrated into my environment. So now what I'll say is, please search the web for the 5 most popular time management methods and list them here. Okay, great. So now I was just given an idea. I'm talking to Copilot. I'm telling it exactly what I need. I'm being somewhat, direct in the sense that, hey, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Okay. I'm giving it a number to work off of. So not just something in the ether, making it guess, well, do they want 3, 5, 10, 12, or just the best one? Okay. And so here, right here, according to my web search, here are the 5 most popular time management methods. We've got a few different techniques and then just kind of a quick summary here, right? Now, what's also cool is if you notice, there are these little kind of like what would you call it? What do you call that when you're drafting a paper? What's that word? You guys know what I'm talking about. A citation. Okay. So it does citate from the sources that it's pulling this information from. So if you wanted to then say, okay, well, hey, the Pomodoro technique. Okay, great. Let me go ahead, give that a click. It'll open up as an additional, we can pull that out there, as an additional tab inside of my browser. And now I can come on down and take a look at where it pulled this information from, give it a look, see if maybe this is pertinent to what I'm trying to accomplish. And if it wasn't, then what I could do is tell Copilot to exclude that that top technique. Maybe pull me a different one to add to our list of 5. Okay. Give me 1 second here while I adjust this as well. Okay, great. Perfect. But let's say, okay, great. I'll go ahead and copy it. And now what I'm going to say is, please expand further on the following. I'll be kind of vague, right? I'll be kind of vague here. All right. So now we're getting more of a defined breakdown of each of these different time management methods and techniques that are most commonly used. Okay, perfect. So this is a great starting point, right? We went from not really knowing the 5 most popular time management methods to now we have the top 5. We've got some information about them. We also have some citations to know exactly where they came from. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this copy icon. I'm going to grab it, and then I'm going to come on over into Word, and I'm going to drop this information in. Now, also notice that we're getting some more suggestions over here that I didn't point out yet. Okay. So, I think again, the suggestions are incredibly powerful because it's prompting you to think of questions that you're not even thinking about, most likely. Okay. I think it's powerful just in this setting, but where I think it really shines more than anything is inside of Excel, which we'll get to see here in a little bit. All right, so now over into Word. What I can do is if I come on over here to this little Copilot icon, what Copilot can do from this pane here is a couple of things. It can summarize this document, okay? I can ask any sort of question about this document. So why is this important? Why does this matter? Well, I'm sure we've all been given from time to time a document that is 100 pages or 200 pages long. Okay. And trying to read all of it individually is a task all in and of itself. So when you're presented with those scenarios with Copilot in your environment, you can simply open up that document, pull up Copilot on this pane here off to the right-hand side, and then ask Copilot to summarize, maybe look for specific information that you know is pertinent to you, that you do need to know from the document without having to scroll and scan all through it, okay? Or you can go ahead, take a look at the prompts as well. Now, something else to note is that sometimes you are given the option to not just write and prompt Copilot with whatever it is you're looking for, but you can also use a microphone. So you can speak those things too. Now, if you want to make adjustments to the actual text inside of this Word document, okay, Copilot over here off to the right in the pane, that's not going to do it. Okay, what you're going to want to do is you can either close it or just ignore it, and then you're going to want to highlight what it is you want to adjust. And then notice now right over here off to the left, there's this little rewrite with Copilot icon. If I go ahead, give it a click, it gives me a couple of different options. I can either rewrite with Copilot or I can take this information and visualize it as a table. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say, hey, rewrite with Copilot. Now, this is important to note right here. It says, hey, please select only plain text paragraphs as Copilot currently doesn't support tables or other non-text elements. So what this means is these little citations here, Copilot inside of Word doesn't like them. It's not able to work with them. So what we'll do is this. We'll just go ahead, we'll copy, and then we'll come on back over inside here. And to paste, we're just going to paste and keep the text only, okay? So now when we go ahead and we highlight, come on over to our Copilot icon again and say rewrite with Copilot. Now it's going to start drafting some rewrites for us. And we'll be patient here. We'll give Copilot a second. Okay, perfect. So now you can see we've got a handful of different options here. Okay. Copilot is not just giving us one rewrite. Okay. It's actually giving us 5 different rewrites based off of what we already have inside of our Word document. Okay. Now, also take note of, I guess it's easier if it's kind of popped up out here. What you can do is you can either replace all of the selected text with this version. You could insert it below, right? If you wanted to do kind of like a compare contrast type deal, right? That's an option. Or if you don't like any of these rewrites, you could ask it to regenerate. Or what I think is another really powerful option is the tonality. Okay. So the tonality basically dictating how this will come across when it's read by somebody, right? Or spoken out loud. So if I wanted Copilot to use, instead of a neutral tone, a more professional or casual or imaginative, or my personal favorite, concise, right? Now you can get into really restructuring the way that everything is written down and the way that it comes across. And you would use different tones for different situations, different scenarios, even as granular as certain individuals, right? So this tone feature is really nice inside of Word, but I think where it shines the best, where it has the most use case, is actually inside of Outlook, inside of email, and we'll get to see that in a few minutes as well. Now, I do want to prompt everybody here just with another poll. Let me go ahead and grab that just real briefly, which is, what challenges do you hope M365 Copilot can help you overcome? Is it improving productivity? Is it streamlining workflows? Or are you just hoping more so to enhance internal and external communication? And again, appreciate everybody's interaction with those polls here as we roll along. I'm seeing we're kind of all across the board, right? Which is interesting to see. And it's probably indicative of the vertical that you're in, right? Excellent. All right, sweet. So now what we can do is, with this document that we have, okay, is we can go ahead, and I'm actually going to save this here. I'm just going to save it real quick. Locally, we're going to call this our time management doc. And then I'm going to make sure that it's living inside of my team's environment. So it's important to note that if you're trying to use any sort of documentation with Copilot, as far as drafting a PowerPoint, it needs to exist inside of your team's environment. So let's see here. Let's go to time management. Okay, great. I'm just going to upload that in there. All right, perfect. Now, while we're in Teams, I want to highlight a couple of neat features. So as you probably caught in that first clip, Copilot can help you do a handful of things, right? We could use Copilot to help us draft a message, okay? The same way that you could do it with Outlook, right? So, hey, Andres, I'll put this to testing, ignore, need help with the new project. Now from here, we can see we've got a couple of options. We can ask Copilot to rewrite. We can ask it to adjust the tone. And then right here, I'm working on this new project and I could use some assistance from you. Wow, how much better that reads across, right? To whoever's receiving that message. Much better than, hey, I need help with the new project, only to be accompanied as well by my poor use punctuations. Okay. So if you're somebody who, feels like you're in that same boat, just know Copilot can help you with that too. Now, we can also not just adjust the tonality, but we could ask Copilot to expand it, make it more concise, right? We've got a couple of options here. Let's go with enthusiastic. Let's say I want to make sure I'm presenting as somebody who is very eager. I'm super excited. And here we go. I'm excited to work with you on a new project. Do you have some time to assist me? Okay. Now, it can work inside of Teams in this way. Another way it can work, the same way that we saw it work off in the pane to the right-hand side inside of Word, it can do the same types of things inside of Teams. So if I wanted to open up Copilot here, and we can see I've done it already, I can ask highlights from the past day. Now, when I'm saying highlights from the past day, that's going to be within this specific chat with Andres. And so we can see Andres requested a PowerPoint. I agreed to create the PowerPoint and send it over, and then Andres was happy with it. Okay, so and you can see right here just from this interaction, he provided me some really good information, a really good breakdown. I said, hey, not a problem. I'll shoot it over shortly. And then it wasn't but 20 minutes later. The only reason it takes 20 minutes is because it does take a little bit of time for Copilot inside of PowerPoint to recognize that a new document's been added to your document library. So that way you're able to reference back to it. We'll see that here in a second. That's the reason that we didn't jump immediately into PowerPoint. It's because I wanted PowerPoint to have a couple of minutes to make sure that new document that we added about time management, want to make sure that it recognizes it's there. So when I tell it to go reference it, it doesn't give me some sort of, I don't know what document you're talking about error. Okay. And now this is the second time that Andres has reached out to me about creating a PowerPoint for him, just a base one. And notice this right here. I feel like it's learning. Maybe we gave better information this time, a much better result. Appreciate the help. Okay. So what that told me this morning is that one of two things. Well, a couple of things really. I know the first PowerPoint that he had me create for him, we had maybe half as much information. Okay. So I think that played a part in it. But number two, I think the fact that it was the second or third time that I've created a PowerPoint based on information being sent to me, right? And using the same type of verbiage and context, okay? Copilot is starting to adapt to exactly what we're talking about, the points we're trying to push across, and it's able to better provide a result that we're happy with, that we're satisfied with. So let's go ahead now, get into PowerPoint. Let me pull up just a brand new instance of PowerPoint here. Move this to the main screen. And let's go blank. Okay, so we've all been here. We've all been tasked with, hey, I need you to create a PowerPoint. You've got to do it from scratch. And you already know this is going to take you way longer than you want it to. Okay, because number one, you hate having to format everything, put it all on the page, make sure you're adding adequate speaker notes, right? That the initial lift of a PowerPoint, and also the other thing to note is as soon as you think you're done, you know you're not done because all you really did was just lay the groundwork, right? You just got the base down, okay? Then you have to go back into each slide and spend more time refining each piece, okay? So what Copilot can do with us here, very simply, is take that initial burdensome lift off of our hands. And then we can also use Copilot afterwards to help refine, okay? And be a little iterative and produce, something that we're more so looking for exactly to be a finished product, okay? But to get this initial lift done is really, really easy. So we can see that Copilot icon again, living inside of PowerPoint. Let's go ahead and give it a click. It's going to open up as a pane. We're familiar with that. And now notice we've got a couple of prompts right here for us. Hey, here's some things you can try. Create a presentation. So if I just said create a presentation about time management, it would create some very basic, rudimentary presentation for us. Now, we also have the option to create the presentation from a file. So if I provide it information with some context that I want it to create the presentation off of, it will do just that. Or if I already had a handful of slides and I wanted to add a slide about X, Y, or Z, I could do that as well. Now, what we want to do is get the initial lift out of the way for this time management presentation. So we're going to say, hey, create a presentation from a file. And notice now it's pulling up some suggestions, okay? So these are some files that it's recognizing as, recently accessed. Now, we did add that time management one in. I'm not seeing it as a suggestion. So what I'm going to do here instead is I'm going to go to that folder that I added it into. And here, I'll make sure that everybody can see this here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy the link to that time management document. And then I'm going to get rid of that slash. And now I'm going to paste exactly where that file is living. I'm going to hit enter. So now we can see we're getting some updates, right? Pulling things together, still working on it, finding your file. And now it's starting to draft a presentation for us. So now it's creating an outline that it's working off of based off of the documentation we provided. Okay, so these are going to be the base slides. We can see it's generating the slides, moving at a pretty good clip here. And that's my favorite part right there, is when it says adding speaker notes. And then it gives us a quick summary of exactly what it did. So here's a draft of that document that we provided as a presentation. I've drafted 9 slides and made some changes based on your document. Included speaker notes, added images to make it more engaging, and applied layouts to organize the slides. Also, take note of this last line here. You can also use Designer for adjusting layouts. Okay, so let's take a look at our base PowerPoint to work off of here. We've got the 5 popular time management methods. Okay, do we probably love this right off the bat? No, we probably don't love it. We will adjust it. Okay, but at least it's something to work with. Then we've got agenda slide. I don't hate this, right? This works for me. Gives us a quick overview of what all is included, what all is going to be talked about. Then we've got an introduction. Now, the verbiage right here. Sure, here's more information on the 5 most popular time management methods. Where is it getting this information from? Well, when I copied over the response from Copilot inside of Teams, I included its actual response to my prompt. Okay, so the only reason this is here is because that's what was inside of the document. Okay, so if I didn't want this to be on the intro slide, I could delete it. Or if I wanted to start from scratch, go back into the Word doc, make some adjustments, and then tell Copilot to re-reference it and build a PowerPoint, I can do that. But that's kind of funny to see, right? And now, as we go further, we're seeing that it's breaking down each technique that we included. And then we've got a conclusion slide. Now, and also, let's not forget, there's speaker notes here. So this is really nice, right? Maybe we would expand upon these. Okay, maybe we'd work with Copilot to go ahead and break this out further, right? Maybe adjust the tonality. Okay, I think you guys are kind of getting the idea. You can kind of jump back and forth between the different places that Copilot exists, where you know that it does a task best to get the best result, and then take that result, copy it, and put it into wherever it is you're trying to create your finished product in, right? So that goes back to when I was talking about earlier with the chaining, right? You can't just go to Copilot in Teams, have it blurt out everything, okay, and create everything for you. You do have to work inside of the respective apps and kind of bounce around a little bit, but just think of how much time this would have taken us if we had to do this by hand. I'm no good at layouts. I don't have an eye for it. I'm not, not in the slightest bit do I have an artistic bone in my body. Okay, so the fact that Copilot's able to at least give me this is a huge stress relief. And now, if I wanted to go in, maybe change the layouts a little bit, that's where I would work with the designer. Okay, so I'm sure most of us have used this by now. If you haven't, it's another AI tool, okay, integrated inside of PowerPoint. And what you can do essentially is just change the way that your slide is presented, okay, the overall layout, where the words are. Sometimes it gives you different icons. And then also right down here, if it has enough different ideas to work off of, it'll give you an option to see more design ideas. It will eventually run out, as a heads up, okay? It only has so many different iterations that it's able to provide you based off of what you have on the slide currently. Okay, great. So we've done a whole bunch here in just kind of a what I would consider to be a relatively short amount of time. Now, I also want to highlight some functionality inside of Outlook, and I want to highlight some functionality inside of Excel. And we've got about 13 minutes here, so that should be fine to just show a few things, and then I'll open up the floor, and I'm going to hand it to Joe too as well. I do have a poll question here, though, that I want to throw out there real quick, which is how soon does your organization plan to implement M365 Copilot? Is it within the next 3 months, within the next 6, maybe the next year, or you're kind of undecided? Hey, Dave, I'm just trying to figure out what Copilot is. That's why I'm here today. Or maybe you already have it implemented. Again, appreciate everybody's interaction with those polls. Now we'll go ahead and get PowerPoint off of the screen. And I'm not going to save it because I don't want more documents living inside of my already robust document library. Now let's take a peek at what Copilot looks like inside of Excel. I'm just, since with the time we have remaining here, I'll just kind of keep it short, sweet, concise. And this is also important to note too. Come on, back over here to the files real quick. So I opened this Excel file up. This just has some test dummy data in here. Okay, so nobody freak out. This isn't, none of this information is real. Okay, this is all just test dummy data. So I'm not showing anything I shouldn't be. All right. Now notice the Copilot icon is not enabled right here. So you're probably thinking, man, what's going on? Well, again, remember, it's got to be living inside of Teams, so that way it can reference it, because the only way that it's able to reference it is because it's using the Graph API, right? The Graph API is living inside of your 365 environment. So in order for Copilot to interact with this Excel, I'm going to need to open it up where it's living inside of Teams. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, great. And now we can see it's enabled, it's active, it's live. So let's go ahead and give it a click. Now, it's important to note that it is in preview mode inside of Excel. That should not come as a shocker or surprise to anybody because of what it's able to do. All that means is that it's still undergoing some refinement, some changes are being made, and the very first true full version of it is still under progress. But it's here right now. We can use the preview mode, which is still very helpful. So inside here, we've got some suggestions, right, for prompts. And these are great, okay, because we can say, hey, I need to add a column. I want to highlight, I want to sort and filter, or I just want to analyze what's going on here with all of this information. I'm going to go ahead and ask it to analyze. Okay, hey, I can analyze data, and I can show insights and charts and pivot tables. Select a suggested prompt or describe what you'd like to know. Okay, well, hey, right here are some good suggestions. Are there any outliers in my data? What's the percentage of total units sold for each segment, or the total cost of goods of January over date? So I'm going to go with percentage of total units sold for each segment. And we'll be patient and we'll let Copilot do its thing. Still finishing up, we can see some results already generated. And this is what's really great. So now it's not only giving us a written breakdown of what's going on based on the prompt that we provided, but it's also giving us a visual, right? Which is huge. So now what I can do with this visual is I can just say, hey, add that to a new sheet for me. And now I have both the breakdown of my prompt and a visualization. Now, is this exactly how you would present it to somebody? No, probably not. You'd probably do it in a little bit of a different manner. But again, taking that initial lift off to where if your biggest concern is refinement, I think that's time much better spent, right? So there's a great example of how Excel works inside of, or how Copilot works inside of Excel. We could go even further with all these different prompts, sort and filter. We could change the layout, have it highlight our outliers that exist inside of our data. Okay. And then we can also see, again, this is the most, the single most impressive thing is prompting us with questions that we're not even thinking of based on the data that we have, because there's so much information and so many fantastic insights, hidden insights living inside of all of our organization's data that we're just not thinking to ask. There's answers there. They're what I like to call the unknown unknowns, right? Sometimes you have known unknowns, sometimes you have unknown knowns, right? If anybody's ever seen that presentation from the intelligence general, or not general, but member. I can't remember if it's FBI or CIA, but it's a great little quip. If you guys haven't seen that, just type in unknown unknowns, and it really it makes you think. I digress. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at Copilot inside of Outlook here real quick. So I'm going to get out of Excel and let's see what Copilot can do inside of email. Okay, so it's going to be able to do the same things that you're probably already thinking. It can help you write emails. It can help you get a quick summary of what's going on in a very long email thread. We all have those, right? Those very cumbersome long email threads. So what I can do is I can come on in to any one of my emails. Let's go with, let's see, let's find a long one here. Let's go with, yeah, there's a lot going on here. Okay, great. So now let's say I haven't, somebody references an email, right? I find it and I go, gosh, what all were we talking about here? Instead of going through reading everything individually, right up at the very top, summary by Copilot. What it's going to do, it's going to scan my email. It's going to look for the key points, pull everything together for us. And right here, here's our summary. Oh, okay, great. So these are the highlights. These are, it's taking out all of the filler, all of the formalities, all of the, kind words, emojis, smiley faces, you name it. It's just giving us the meat and potatoes, what actually happened in these emails, what's important. Here's some dates, here's some locations, right? And then also giving us, again, where exactly it's pulling that email or that information from. So if I click on it, it'll bring me to that exact email where that information lives, or that portion of the email thread, I should say. Now, also, right up here towards the top, if I'm going to draft a new email, I can draft with Copilot, or I can utilize coaching by Copilot. So those are two different ways, right? So if I want to draft with Copilot, I'll say, let's go with, I'm just using this as a funny, barely, it's fringe funny, but hey, I don't want to attend those meetings anymore because they're a huge waste of my time. All right. So I'm just going to put out exactly how I feel about something in a fictional scenario. Now, of course, I'm probably not going to be this blunt with somebody. Okay. Although I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to be that way, but we know where we stand in our organizations, what we should and should not say. So this is where the tonality can really help us out. Also, the length of what we're sending out. Okay, so if I want this to be, let's make this a little more casual. Okay, and make it a little longer, and let's generate. Let's see. So I'm putting down how I feel. I'm asking Copilot to give me something that when I send it to somebody, it's not going to hurt their feelings. Okay. Hey there. I hope this email finds you well and you're enjoying your day. I'm writing to let you know that I won't be attending the meetings anymore. And it's going into some detail as to why hey, I appreciate you. I don't want to be rude, but I also don't want to waste your time or my time. I hope you're not offended. I'm still happy to collaborate with you and the rest of the team. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. Thank you for your understanding and support. Sincerely, Dave. Right? What a 360 that was from our initial to where we are now. Okay. Now, it's not just now we could, of course, you guys have seen that before, right? We've highlighted regenerate, give us different ideas. If you don't want Copilot to write something out for you directly, you could use the coaching by Copilot. Okay. Now you have to have 100 or more words inside of an email for it to kick in. But what it'll do is as you're drafting up your email, it will highlight some portions of the email to help you be more concise or convey your message better. It's more of an assistant. It's not actually changing anything unless you click on that portion of the email, look at the suggested change and select it. Okay. So couple of great ways. If you're somebody who doesn't want AI to write for you, you want to use your own words, but maybe you want just a little help in tailoring it. Coaching by Copilot is great for that. Now, I know we've got just a couple of minutes here, so any questions that anybody has, feel free to drop those in the chat here real quick. I want to throw it over to Joe. And again, Joe, thank you for putting on today's event. We appreciate you guys at Lunavi, but Joe's got some information to share with us. Sir, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you, David. Great content. Really loved all the demos. I mean, I know it's got my creative juices flowing. I've only started to dabble in Copilot myself on the marketing side of things, and things like the presentation draft out of PowerPoint, just a huge time saver overall, and to be able to have it just generate that, give you a great launch spot to create stuff that's really polished. So. Yeah, once again, appreciate the demos, all the information. Hopefully everyone else is getting some great ideas out of this as well. So I'm just going to share this document out really quick, and I'll put a link to this in the chat as well. Lunavi has this new AI accelerator offering. If you are looking to get started using OpenAI or Copilot within your organization, one amazing thing about this accelerator is that we come in, work directly with your organization and your stakeholders with a customized offering, and we'll take you to a full proof of concept in just a month. So 3 to 4 weeks, we'll have your team up and running with a totally secure Copilot deployment that is tailored to what your goals are and what you're trying to do with these new Gen AI tools. So as I mentioned, I'll drop the download to this in the chat. If you're curious about learning more, definitely encourage you to reach out to our team. We can sit down with you and start getting together with some ideas on how to leverage this within your organization.
Awesome, Joe. Appreciate that. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for your time today. We're wrapping up right at the top of the hour. Perfect. So that way you can hop into those other great meetings you've got scheduled for today. There's one last poll question on your way out. Just just asking if you're interested in any sort of follow-up conversation to learn more about M365 Copilot and how it can benefit your organization. When you think about Copilot and you think about, just M365 Copilot, I want you to think of Lunavi. They are your go-to for those types of solutions and integrations. We really appreciate Joe and the team. With that being said, if nobody has any other further questions, you're free to drop. If you do have any questions, feel free to hang out. I'll leave the meeting open for another minute or two. And regardless, thanks again, everybody, and hope you have a great rest of your day and week.
Thanks, David. Great stuff.
Ravish, can you share today's recording? Yes, if you'd like the recording, just reach out to Joe. Yeah, Joe, can we get your email as well in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll drop that in there.
Awesome, thank you.